Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Happy Death Day. So this is interesting. For those of you who might not know, this is a reward for a mega stream donation. I host a mega stream every 4 months, which is a 12-hour live stream. And if you donate to it in one of a couple ways, I reward you by allowing you to have me react to something or whatnot, whatever. And in this case, Everett Taves donated Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition to me via Steam, and as such has chosen for me to react to the movie Happy Death Day. Now, this is relevant in the current day because the new movie Happy Death Day 2 U either just came out or is just about to come out. I'm not entirely sure. I will say I know nothing about this movie, or I guess these movies. I've seen the trailers just randomly on television while my dad was watching stuff for the second one coming out, and it looked like it had a comical nature, so I'm wondering if Happy Death Day is a comedy horror. But I'm not sure. I don't actually know. Otherwise, I don't know anything about, like, the plot or anything. I don't know what, like, it is about. Based on the title, I would assume, like, horror-based events involving, obviously, death happening around someone's birthday, maybe? That's the only thing I could think of. It is a live-action movie, though, which, as you know, I don't really do live-action stuff on this channel too often. I do try to focus more on the animation side of things, which is mostly because I'm definitely a lot more interested in animation. There are a lot of live-action things I do like, such as Supernatural, Breaking Bad, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and other such movies. I'm not opposed to live-action stuff, whether it be movies or television, but I don't usually do it for the channel. But this time we are. This is a case where we are getting a live-action movie reaction. And we're actually getting a second one from the same Mega Stream donations, because Cartoon Lounge is going to have me react to the movie Won't You Be My Neighbor, which I believe is just a documentary about Mr. Rogers. But yeah, as for Happy Death Day, let's talk about my interest in the horror genre. So as I've made known on plenty of occasions, I love it when shows that are not horror-based take in a horror-based episode. Because a lot of those kind of shows, they'll do a horror-themed episode really freaking well, such as Samurai Jack, with Jack in the Haunted House, as a great example, or the Powerpuff Girls with Abracadabra. When a show that is decidedly non-horror in its overall themes and style does horror theming, it's usually able to do it very well. However, when something is made to be horror, is made like for the sole purpose of being horror, a lot of times it's not good, at least from my experience. You could call me a horror snob, if you will. But I find it actually very few and far between to have a good horror movie or series. Mostly through movies, though. For example, I don't like the Friday the 13th movies, except the new one with Jackie Earle Haley instead of the other guy who I cannot remember who the original Freddy actor was at the moment. Robert Englund. I don't like Robert Englund as Freddy, but I like Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy. I hated all of the original Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I didn't think they were good horror. I think the only good Paranormal Activity movie is the first. Babadook was a great one. I liked, there's this other movie I saw once, I cannot remember what it's called. It was like Close Encounters or something like that. It was kind of like a found footage style, like Paranormal Activity or whatnot. But it was a lot scarier. In my eyes, let's put it this way. For a horror movie to be successful, it has to be scary. It has to have it either has to be scary or purposefully not. As in, like, a parody of a horror movie. If a parody movie or something that's purposefully not meant to be scary, like, that can work. But if it's a serious horror movie, it needs to actually have that scare factor. I like Alien, for example. That's a good one. And there's plenty of others, too. But so many, most of them turn out to be, in my eyes at least, bad. And even ones that the mass majority of people think are good, I can't stand. Like The Exorcist. I think The Exorcist is shit. Not just I don't like it or it's not my kind of horror movie. I think it's shit. I think the acting is terrible. I think it's like it's so lacking in scariness that it's actually almost hilarious. Nothing about it is scary in any kind of way. And so on and so forth. But and it's not even that it's an older movie, because I like, oh, now my mind is blanking on that one. The Norman Bates one, Psycho, that's it. I was trying to, my mind was blanking on what the movie was called, but I remembered Norman Bates' name with these. I liked Psycho. It just depends on the film, I guess. Now again, if the trailers for the second movie are any kind of hint, then maybe Happy Death Day does take a more parody-based route. Maybe it isn't supposed to be super serious. But I guess we'll find out. I don't know anything about it. I don't know if it's... I don't even know if people like it. And you can't just say, oh, they made a sequel, so people must like it. That doesn't always mean anything. But I know that some people like it, at least. I know Everett likes it, and that Everett wanted me to react to it, so here we are. I hope to enjoy it as well. I hope that it ends up being a good horror movie, or at least, if it is a parody, then a good horror parody movie. I hope that it's at least enjoyable enough to react to. And yeah, I'm glad either way that Everett, you donated a game that especially one I've wanted for so long. And I'm glad that you were able to see me react to this movie. So thank you so much, and we're going to get started. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts, and will contain spoilers to the movie. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in once again, and thank you once again to Everett for donating. And for now, I'll see you at the reaction. So yeah, see you there. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so, I want to say, Everett Taves, thank you. Thank you so much for suggesting this. Honestly, if you hadn't suggested this, I'd probably never have seen it. I probably would not have ever have seen this if you had not said something. If you had not suggested this for the Mega Stream reward. This was damn good. Like, it surprised me by how good it was. It wasn't straight up like serious horror, but as I said a couple of times during the reaction, it also wasn't a parody or anything, or comedy / horror. It had some comedic moments and bits to it, sure, but it actually didn't focus too heavily on it. It wasn't meant to be a comical movie. It just had some funny parts to it. I don't know how I would describe its genre, though. Like, again, it kind of subverts a lot, but I don't know. It's definitely a horror film, but it's more than that. I also like how in the end, even after we find out who the killer is, and everything seems to be going well, we still find out another big twist. And here's the thing, again, she was one of my very first uh, suspects. Her and Carter actually were my two big suspects at the start. Um, and I was figuring it was going to be one of them, but then everything kind of was pointing like, oh no, it's something else. And then again, when we find out about Tomes, it's like, oh yeah, we have seen that news broadcast going. It's just kind of been in the background, but it has always been there. And so it's like, okay. And so then, again, things don't go well the first time, but she manages to get to him again. And again, everything seems to go well. She stops him. But then it resets again, and she's like, what happened? And that's when we find out the second twist, that it was her roommate, and it was because two reasons, I guess. One, she was just a bitch, which she was, and she even acknowledges that. And two, because she was sleeping with the teacher, who I guess her roommate had a thing for. Now, her roommate works in the hospital, and the teacher's also a doctor, so it's believable that there would be that kind of... it's a believable thing. Like, just having that romance be out of nowhere would have made no sense, but they made it believable by having it specifically be the right character for it. And again, it was stuff that was built up. When you look back at it, it was all built up. With this kind of movie, with a Groundhog's Day kind of movie, you do have to look for the constants. What is constantly there throughout every time. And the thing is, with this kind of movie, though, there is always a lot of constants. Because you're reliving the same day, the same events. So you have to look for constants that really stand out. Something that's like, not more than just that one guy with the glasses who glanced at her as she walked by. More than just that one guy who passed out on the grass, and so on like that. The constants that matter. Again, the broadcast about the murderer who apparently has been killing a bunch of young girls. That was a constant that, when you think about it, raises a red flag. Then there is the cupcake, is a constant that, even from the beginning, the cupcake seemed important. It was made to stand out by having it be red velvet. It was made to stand out. The people who made this movie, they clearly, they used that on purpose. I am fully convinced of that. They purposefully had it be a cupcake that would stand out in terms of its appearance to make you notice it. So it's not just some random cupcake that she gives to her friend, to her roommate. It means more than that. And that's important. That's a big deal. It's a big deal. Now, I like how in some of the times that some of the resets, some of the loops, it was actually the roommate who was the killer. But then in other ones, of course, it was, Tomes. So it's like there was actually two killers the entire time. Even beyond just the cupcake thing. Because Tomes was only the killer in the parts where she didn't eat the cupcake tree, and she wasn't like caught alone before that by the killer, by her roommate. So it was basically a desperate situation. So that's why Tomes was only the killer in some of them and not all of them. In the rest, it was the roommate who was wearing the mask and the hoodie and everything. I like how she at first got more worried and then became extremely distressed over it, as well as the fact that eventually she just stopped caring. Once she started to go with the idea Carter gave her to try and solve it, she stopped actually caring about it because she knew she'd just reset again. And so she's just kind of having fun with it. Like the one time where she just walks out of the guy's dorm completely buck naked and is like just finger gunning people as she walks by. It was hilarious. It was straight up hilarious. Though I do really like the second to last loop, where it felt very triumphant, and I actually like that that's why it wasn't the last loop. I like that it felt so triumphant. Everything seemed to be working perfectly. She knew who the killer was. She knew how she was going to stop him, so she was in the perfect position. She was going to do this, and everything felt so triumphant, and then she ends up dying again in her sleep. And it's like, it doesn't feel like a buzzkill. Rather, it actually feels, I mean, I guess you could say, like, smart writing. Like, having that huge triumphant, just part of the episode, that huge triumphant loop, everything's going right. She signs the petition. She, talks to her, I guess you could call him an ex, and tells him to embrace who he is and the fact that he loves guys, that he's gay. She confronts her teacher and not only breaks it off, but tells him to basically fuck off when he's basically an asshole who shows complete unfaithfulness and everything to his wife. And it's like everything about it felt so good. And that's why having it restart again after that was such a brilliant move. It worked so well. But at the same time, we still got to see everything end off right when she found out what was really going on. So there was still a triumphant victory at the end. So yeah, I really liked that. Now, we didn't get an explanation for why she was looping, like how that was even happening. All we know is that she would continue to loop until she solved this. And that's what happened. Once she solved it, it went forward. So, yeah. Why was that happening in the first place, though? We never found out. It was never revealed. Was it some kind of supernatural force? Was it something else, just random? I mean, I don't remember everything about Groundhog's Day either, but did it reveal, like, why that was happening then, too? I don't think this kind of thing needs an explanation. That's kind of what I'm getting at. I don't really think it needs to be explained or figured out or anything. I think it needs to be overcome. It's a kind of situation that needs to be beaten rather than understood. So, yeah. I feel it was a really, really nice touch. It was really well done. The characters, I really liked how our main character, Tree, evolved throughout all of these loops. How she realized she had been such a bitchy, horrible person and came to fix herself. Which, I mean, why in the triumphant loop, the second to last one, why she was being, not only just because she was in this triumphant mood, but she was being so nice to these people, to everyone, because she truly realized how she had what she had been and wanted to change that. Her relationship with Carter felt really well earned. It felt like it was perfectly worked up to and didn't come out of nowhere, so that's fantastic as well. And just overall, I thought it was just really great. It just really worked. There's one question I have, though. In some of these situations where the killer is clearly the roommate, such as at the house party where where Tree is led up to the room and the guy is killed behind her while she's reading the texts and everything, why is the roommate killing other people? Like, when it's Tomes, sure. But the roommate only wants her dead, right? I would think the only reason she'd kill other people would be if they got in her way or tried to stop her from killing Tree. Which this guy really wasn't in the way. Like the guy in the room, when he had that loud music and everything playing, the entire little party situation, he wasn't in the way or anything. Yet she went out of her way to kill him. She could have easily just, like, pushed past him and, like, knocked him to the ground, or even just knocked him out, like, straight up. and in the end, gone and killed Tree after that. It's just like it felt unnecessary. But I mean, at this point, she's a murderer who's actively trying to kill someone. So maybe she just doesn't care. Maybe she just she just sees them as an obstacle she needs to get past in order to kill Tree or something. I don't know. Now, I mentioned during the pre-thoughts that there is a sequel that either just came out or is going to be coming out. I think it just came out because I think it was released in time for Valentine's Day. I don't know if it's going to be a direct sequel with the same characters. I don't know if it's going to be different characters. Again, I've seen the trailers, but I don't remember much of specifics from them. I think in one of the trailers it showed a character jumping out of an airplane backwards. So I don't even know what's up with that. If it is the same character, if it is Tree again, why does it happen again? I mean, I assume it would mean that someone's trying to kill her again, and she has to loop and loop over and over. But why would all of this be happening again? There's a lot to question. I also really like the scene with the father when we finally actually get to see him. It's like we see him basically once in the entire movie, but he's the thing is, he's in the entire movie. We just don't see the actor. Because throughout the entire movie, we see the phone calls from the dad and everything, and as the movie progresses, we get backstory and everything. And it's like, it's building up to it. So we know that at some point we are going to meet the father. So when we do, and when they do have that very tearful reunion and discussion and everything, it feels, just like with Tree's relationship with Carter, it feels earned. It feels like it was something that was worked up to, something that was properly handled in its execution. Now, this movie wasn't scary, and I said at the beginning that that a true horror movie, to really succeed, has to be scary. And this, I would say, is an exception to that. And there were a couple moments that more surprised me than anything, like when she's being arrested by the cop and Tomes just plows into him and everything. Like, that was legitimately shocking and everything, and it surprised me when it happened. It made me jump a little, but it wasn't scary. But yeah, it didn't need to be. This movie wasn't about being scary as a horror movie. It was more about, honestly, I'd say it was kind of almost more of a mystery. It kind of led itself more to being a whodunit and figuring out how to stop this loop rather than anything. It wasn't about the horror aspect really at all. And I actually kind of like that. Because it's not, like I was saying before, it's not just a simple, basic, everyday horror film. It doesn't try to be a serious horror film, but it's not a parody either. It's kind of its own thing. It's like a mystery horror. Or I'd actually say it's more of a thriller. Yeah, I think that'd be the best way to describe it. It's more of a thriller than a horror movie. It definitely contains some horror-like stuff to it, but it definitely acts more as a thriller. So yeah, I would definitely put it more like that. Overall though, there was one thing that I don't think was meant to be funny as well. I just thought of, but actually is kind of funny, because in the ones where Tomes is the killer and everything, there's the one where he kills the doctor that Tree was sleeping with and that her roommate had a thing for. What if that had ended up being the final one? Then the roommate would have basically caused the death of the one that this was all for. The entire reason she did all of this. I just think that's kind of ironically funny. But yeah, this movie didn't really go into anything involving gore. It didn't go into like any excessive supernatural stuff outside of, just the loop in and of itself. It didn't have like this. It wasn't like quite like a big slasher film either. It really just stands out on its own and really helps. It really helps it feel unique and interesting. But yeah, overall, I really love this. And yeah, Everett, thank you. Thank you for suggesting this. Thank you for choosing this. Because as I said, I probably would have never seen this if you hadn't had it as your reward. Maybe in the future I'll be able to react to Happy Death Day to You. That would be fun. Maybe that could be for a future mega stream. Once it's out on DVD and stuff. I would actually be willing to do that. But yeah, this was definitely a good movie. I had a lot of fun with this. There was some really legitimately good comedy, and heck, I liked the female lead. I thought she was really a good actress in this matter. She portrayed her role well. She was good as a bitch, but also she was really good at portraying that transformation that Tree made. And on top of that, I will admit, I will fully admit, that honestly, I thought Carter was cute. I'm just gonna say that. I'm just gonna say that. I thought Carter was extremely cute. The actor who plays him, more precisely, I guess. And he reminded me a lot of Warren Graham from Life is Strange, which is a very good thing because Warren was one of my favorite characters from Life is Strange. So I definitely kind of had this instant attraction to him as a character, pretty much from the beginning. I think he was my favorite character here. I think Carter was my favorite character. So yeah, overall, yeah, like I said, I love this movie. This was great. Thank you for suggesting it, Everett. And like I said, maybe in the future, we'll react to Happy Death Day to You. But for now, this was the first week reaction for the Tuesday slots for Mega Stream reactions. I put up I don't know if I put up the other video before this or after this. Actually, I probably put it up before this because I'm recording this all on Monday. So I probably put up the other video on Monday. But so yeah, this was this week's. Next week for the Mega Stream reward stuff, we will be reacting to the movie Won't You Be My Neighbor, as well as a comic review for a comic called Siegfried. And then Dofus will resume from where we left off last on March 5th. In the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in, and for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles,